historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies.
Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this, and he promised you, America, how easy it would be.
From immigration to women's rights to the conflict in the Middle East, the nominees for vice president squared off in their first and only debate before Election Day. Good evening. I'm Christine Johnson.
I'm Maurice Dubois. The debate tonight had the candidates focus largely on policy as they attacked each other's running mates. All took place right here on Manhattan's West Side. We have a look outside the Broadcast Center here where things just wrapped up. We have team coverage. Marcia Kramer with analysis. Jessica Moore is in the spin room. But we begin with Dick Brennan live outside the Broadcast Center with a breakdown of the debate itself. Dick.
Well, Maurice and Christine, you could call this the civil debate, one we're not really used to in the past couple of years. But in recent times, these two guys said they wanted to make their points, and they very much did over 90 minutes. Tonight, the candidates squared off, and the debate went straight to the conflict in the Middle East and the Iranian attack on Israel today. Both candidates were asked if they would support a preemptive strike on Iran.
It is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys.
Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
The candidates also mixed it up on the border, each blaming the other's party for not solving the problem or ignoring solutions. And they both addressed the aftermath of Donald Trump making false statements about migrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio.
The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border.
We could come together and solve this if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school.
At one point, the vice presidential nominees' mics were cut when they began to argue over fact-checking on the issue.
We have so much to get to, Senator. Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Each candidate had to address questions about things they did or said. Tim Walz was asked about his comment that he had been in Hong Kong during Tiananmen Square in 1989, but apparently that didn't happen.
I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
And Vance was asked about his criticism of Donald Trump, including when he was president of the United States.
When you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it.
The candidates also attacked each other over the abortion issue and health care for women.
Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate, access to infertility treatments.
Proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very big, a very diverse, and let's be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
The candidates had a tense exchange when talking about January 6th and Trump refusing to admit he lost the 2020 election.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
Of course, the big question tonight, did this move the needle anyway in the general election? Well, tomorrow, the candidates hit the campaign trail in swing states and no doubt will make the claim that they won the debate tonight. We're live outside the CBS Broadcast Center. Dick Brennan, CBS News, New York.
All right, Dick, thank you.
And just across the hall from the debate is the spin room where representatives on both sides have been all night. Jessica Moore live now with reaction on each side. Jessica?
Hi, Maurice and Christine. This is where the spin happens. Campaign surrogates try to make their case that their guy did better. And in this case, behind me, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, here himself trying to continue his argument that he just finished on the debate stage. It is buzzing right now. Reporters from all around the world here to hear exactly what the candidates and their surrogates say they did well. The spin room usually really happens after the debate, but this has been going on for hours now. We're going to show you some video of all of the scrums of reporters trying to get interviews with some of these people speaking on behalf of the candidates. Here's what a couple of the representatives I spoke with after the debate thought about their candidates' performances tonight.
completely tore apart the Democrats' arguments for why they've destroyed our border, why they've destroyed the economy, why they've created chaos in the Middle East. It's absolutely every single time. J.D. Vance laid out the vision why we need to get President Trump back in the White House.
He did a great job. He was plain spoken, as he always is. And I just thought it was this 90 minutes where the American people got to see a debate of two very different visions for America. And I think all the 90 minutes, to me, the big point was minute number 90, when J.D. Vance, just like Donald Trump, doubled down on the fact that he would not commit to certify an election. And Tim Walz said, that's the choice.
J.D. Vance still here in the spin room taking questions from reporters. As soon as I get off live here with you, I plan to join that scrum of reporters trying to get a question in with him. We saw it at the presidential debate. Donald Trump went into the spin room. You never know who's going to show up in the spin room. Christina Maurice, back to you.
All right, Jessica, thank you.
And joining us now is political reporter Marcia Kramer. So, very polite, very civil. Here's the question, though. Did you hear anything on either side that could move the needle, especially in the swing states, because that's what this whole thing is about?
Well, actually, I think they tried to do it, but the problem was that they didn't want to seem too radical on either side. So they didn't want to seem too far to the right, too far to the left. And so they tried to stake up a middle ground, but I don't think that they changed anybody's minds that much because the positions weren't that wild. So I think that, for example, take a look at abortion. On abortion, for example, Governor Walz was very forceful in talking about the fact that Donald Trump appointed conservative judges to the Supreme Court, which killed Roe v. Wade. And he offered some heartrending examples of women who either died or were harmed by the decision. Now, Senator Vance, for his part, expressed sympathy for the women, you know, that had undergone these problems, but then he tried to trot out the Republicans' latest response to win over women voters, which is they want to have money to help women have babies. So neither one really answered the question, but they were trying to do as much as possible to bring people in. But look, did they win over anybody? I think if you're a committed Democrat, you believed Walz. If you're a committed Republican, you believe Senator Vance. And if you were an undecided voter, well, that's an open question.
So if they didn't sway any voters one way to the next, did either candidate do any harm to their party?
Well, I think we all know that their goal was to not do any harm. And you could see by the pleasant demeanor of both of them during this debate that they tried not to do any harm.
Actually said they agreed on some points.
A lot of
They agreed on a lot of different things. But see, what each set out to do, Governor Walz continually attacked Donald Trump. He said he thought that climate change was a hoax, that he went after world leaders only because they would flatter him. And for Vance's position, he continually attacked Kamala Harris. In fact, instead of saying it was the Biden administration, he said it was the Kamala Harris administration. And he blamed her for rising costs and all other things. I think that the takeaway here is that there was a very calm, normal debate, not much fireworks. But that's what they wanted. They wanted to both show that they were normal and they could both succeed at being the vice president.
Yeah, when's the last time a vice presidential debate swayed the election, right?
Well, I actually have an answer to that.
You do?
Yeah, because it hasn't.
Asked and answered. There you go. One more thing. Right out of the gates, they talked about the big news of the day, the Middle East. And they were asked, would you support a preemptive strike on Iran? And I don't think we heard much of an answer there.
Neither one of them wanted to answer that question, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Michigan is a very important battleground state. It has the largest Arab American population outside of the Middle East. And they didn't want to do anything that was going to alienate people who are very sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. So they were very careful. In fact, at one point, Senator Vance said Israel should make the decision, not the United States.
Don't want to touch that one. Okay, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thanks for the insight.